Hey everyone, I'm Diego Viteri. Welcome to a new video of Viteri Boxing. Today I want to teach you the essence of human chess, or the essence of the art of boxing, which is positioning yourself where you can hit and your opponent can't hit you. Remember that for that, you need a strategy. You need something to distract your opponent. So I'm going to teach you 3 different techniques. The first one is going to be the zigzag jab. The second one is going to be the cross jab. And the third one, I'm going to show you how to control your opponent and look for a position in the short range, in the close range. So let's begin. A strategic positioning means placing yourself, your whole body, in a position where you can hit and your opponent can hit. It's basically stop being in front of your opponent. You don't want to fight in front of your opponent completely aligned. If you're here getting punched, getting hit, and seeing how much you can get hit, or trying to be a competition or who hit harder, it's not a smart way of fighting. So the first thing you need to understand are the distances where you can actually position yourself. If you're in a long range, it's impossible to look for an angle. If you're in a long range and I look for an angle, it's impossible because he can reposition himself and he will neutralize my angle. So distance will kill angles. That's important thing. If I'm in a mid-range, it's easier to move to an angle. And of course, if I'm in a close range, it will be much easier. So let's begin with the first technique, which is the zigzag jab. Let's begin. So the first technique is the zigzag jab. And in order to position yourself, you need to gain some time. You need to distract your opponent. If I just position myself, it's really easy for him to follow me. It's really easy for him to follow me, to create some distance, to neutralize my angle. So I need a distraction. And for that, we're going to use a jab. But this jab is going to be completely different. We're going to sprint forward, dart forward. We're going to go dart forward. We're going to keep our rear leg airborne. We're going to keep in the air. And then we're going to move to the side. Always try to, not always, but commonly try to look for an angle outside of his front leg. It's much easier if I move outside his front leg than if I look to move into his rear leg. It will be much harder because it's a lot deeper, that angle. So the main thing you need to understand is that your leg is airborne, and from this position I can move outside from my opponent and punch him. Some people tell me, why you keep your leg in the air? That will be killing your balance. That's incorrect. When we do a pivot, a normal pivot, you're also putting your leg in the air and moving, but you're moving in a circular way. You're in a circular way. The only difference is here, I'm moving in a linear way. It's much faster. It's a lot faster. Of course, I'm exaggerating the movement by keeping my leg here to show you, but the actual movement will be much smoother. It will be much smoother, much fluid. It wouldn't look like I'm putting my leg up. It's a lot faster. So remember, the most important thing is balance. So in that case, make sure that if you're practicing at home and if you throw your jab, to make sure you can stay in this position, move a little bit to make sure you have balance. If your body is moving forward, it's impossible to move to another position. So make sure you're always having balance. You move, jab, and move to the side. The second technique I'm going to show you is called the cross jab. Normally, the cross is your rear straight punch, either from an orthodox position or from a southpaw position. In this case, I call it a cross jab because I'm actually putting my cross, my rear arm, I'm putting it forward. I'm moving it forward. So that creates an illusion of being like a jab. I'm putting my rear shoulder in front, and that will make it like a jab. I'm closing my punch towards my opponent's face, so it will have to travel a less distance. So for this technique, this cross jab works perfectly with an open stance. It means with a southpaw versus orthodox, or orthodox versus southpaw. So the first thing you need to do, shoulder forward, making your arm closer to your opponent. And the second thing is we're going to throw the cross, but we're going to break the rules. The normal rule will be to step with your front foot and your rear foot will follow. This is the regular way. You step and then you step with the rear foot. That's the regular way. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to put our shoulder forward and we're going to throw the cross as I step with my lead leg. So I punch as I step with my lead leg, the other follows. I step, and it follows. And from here, I can move to another position. Normally, I use a double cross jab. So I'll be moving, putting my shoulder here, I go bam, bam, and then I move to another position to punch my opponent. If you sit here, I'm also looking for an angle outside from my opponent's lead leg. It's much easier. Your shoulder, your rear shoulder here, you're gonna step with your front leg, with your lead leg, as you punch, and that one follows up. The same thing, and then you pivot, and you just punch your opponent. That's the cross jab. Now we're moving into the close range position. In the close range position, we need to switch the game. We need to change a little bit our game. First thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna be in a bladed stance. I mean, with the rear foot, of course, being in the rear and the front foot here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to align our two legs, because that will be much easier for you to create a position to the one side or to the other side. That's why mainly you see Mike Tyson with a square stance. It's much easier for him to move to one side or moving to the other side. Another reason why you will be in a square stance is because it's much easier to protect your body punches. If I'm in this position, as you can see, punches can come. It's really hard for me to cover them. If I'm in here, it's really easy for me to protect. Now, in the close range, I'm not distracting my opponent by blinding him with a punch and then moving to another position. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use my frames, and I'm going to take him out of, I'm going to push him a little bit, take him out of position. If I take my opponent out of position, that will make me, I will be in a better position if he's in a worse position, of course. So I'm in a square position. I'm going to put my forearm just a little bit, a little push. At the same time I do a little push, I will step with any leg. You can go to the left side or to the rear side. So if I use my right arm, my right forearm, I'll do a little push, and at the same time my left foot will do a step. Left foot a step, and from here I shuffle and I can punch my opponent. The same thing here. I'm in a close range. I will use my left forearm. I'll do a little push. At the same time, I'll step with my rear leg, and I'm here in another position. So you're basically pinning your opponent, doing a little push, taking him out of position, positioning yourself, and attacking your opponent. So use frames. Make sure you're aligning your legs, you're squaring yourself, because that will be much easier for you to position yourself, and you are going to hit your opponent where he can hit you. Thanks everyone for watching my video. Remember, always look for a position, but you need to distract your opponent if you're in the mid-range, and if you're in a close range, use your frames. Take him out of position so you can gain some time. You have a window of opportunity and move to the sides, move to an angle. That's the art. That's the art of human chess. That's the whole point of a chess match: positioning, strategic positioning, being in a position where you can punch and your opponent can't hit you. Leave me a comment below of what you want to learn next week, and I'll sure make that video for you. See you next week.